Hi, welcome to Sean's RC. Today I'm going to be doing a review on this, and I'll give you a bit of a demo on how it goes. It's the WPL Mini Rock Crawler. It's Chinese made, Chinese company, but it actually comes really realistic looking. I'm quite surprised. It's a combination of metal and plastic. You got a canopy on here that you pull off like so. You flip up the tool compartment bit there, and your battery goes in there. So pull it out, plug it in, stick it back in, put your canopy on. Now this thing probably cost me, in my country, I'd say about $70–80. Shipped from China. It only took about 2 weeks to get here. You get a pretty basic transmitter with it, but it does the job. And I'm actually quite surprised at the detail and stuff. You see the headlights on it. There's a few stickers, a little bit of assembly when you get it. It basically comes like this, but things like you got your snorkel up here, you got mirrors, the door handles. You have to put on the tail lights there. Those are stickers. The front just came like that, but so it's 4-wheel drive. Hasn't got a high or low or anything because it's a crawler, and it's quite slow. But I'm actually quite surprised at how well it goes for the price that I paid for it and the way it looks. So I'll just give you a little demo on what it can do. So yeah, it does the job of a crawler. When I go out I take my lossy short course truck out to the racetrack just to get a bit of time on the track. And I usually bring this along if my daughter comes. She's 15. And I just let her use this. And she crawls up some of the big jumps and stuff on it. And so that's why it's a bit muddy, because it was a bit wet out there last time I was out there. But I'm actually very surprised at how well this goes, and I definitely highly recommend it. You got your on and off switch in here, so I'll turn it off for now. But I highly recommend this because I haven't had it for very long, but I can already tell you it's taken some tumbles. It's already taken some pretty good tumbles. Out there we've got a jump that's pretty much just about vertical. Well, it's probably like a 30-degree angle, so it's quite hard to get up, and this little thing crawled up it. It took a few goes, but I mean, that's where your modifications can come in, like if you put different tyres on it, ones that are a little bit grippier. You also find that quite often with crawlers, and most crawlers are the same, they're a little bit light in the front, so if you put them on an angle like this, crawling, once you get to about that, they tend to want to tip over, so you can actually get like weights, some people do, and put just little weights in the front just to try and hold it down. But this thing, for the price you pay straight out of the box, I see one of the side indicator lights must have come off. I don't know where that is. It's probably out on the track somewhere. Never know, I might be lucky and find it next time I'm out there, but I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, it's quite a realistically looking Toyota Hilux, like probably late 80s, early 90s model. Probably early 90s actually, but it's not branded as Toyota because they haven't got the rights or anything to it. But it looks it looks very much like one. So yeah, I'm very, very impressed. WPL 1/18 scale crawler. Yeah, I highly recommend it. Of course, you know what they are, they're crawlers, they don't go very fast, but it's actually quite a good little hobby, especially if you're sitting inside and you can make up little tracks yourself, little obstacles, and do a bit of crawling with the kids or whatever, can keep them entertained. And a lot of people, rather than the speed side of RC, they really get into these crawling. Like Trax has put out some brilliant, well, quite a few brands do brilliant crawlers that that are just as expensive as some of the track cars and that they've got. So it's quite a very popular side of RC that a lot of people get into. And I can see why. Really, it's not, for me, it's not my thing. I enjoy having it. But the one thing I do like about these crawlers is having them on the shelf as well, because a lot of the crawlers, especially the cheap ones, are very, very realistic looking. Whereas you get a lot of the, like the most of the road cars are pretty realistic looking. They're based on cars like Porsches and that, but your off-road vehicles from all of your big brands, really, they sort of have a little bit of a toy look to them, unless you get the proper, like, 8-scale racing buggies or truggies. They look like race vehicles, but the hobby stuff, it tends to look kind of toyish. Even though they're not toys, these things, some of them do 100 kilometres an hour or more. They're certainly not toys, and they can be quite dangerous. People can get seriously injured if you get hit by a car at that kind of speed, if it jumps and hits you. They're not toys, but they tend to make them look toyish. But these things here, there's a lot of attention to detail, and they've got it right. And it crawls over most of the things that I put there in front of it. It just eats it. So I highly recommend it for the money that you pay. You don't have, that's the thing with this hobby, you don't have to have the best of everything, the best brands. You can spend a minimal amount of money and get a car that will give you as much enjoyment, if not more, than a more expensive thing. That you spend a lot of money on a vehicle and you flip it over and it gets scratched. You don't want to do it, and you end up putting it on the shelf because you don't want to wreck it, you don't want to scratch it anymore. This, you're not too worried. It'll be just about impossible to wreck this anyway. I drove this thing accidentally through a puddle that I couldn't see exactly how deep it was, and it went right under, but I managed to crawl out of it, and I thought, the electrics are all going to get wet and it'll probably stop now. I'll have to dry it out, but it didn't. It just kept going. I was probably a little bit lucky. But so they're just a great all-round cheap RC vehicle to get into the hobby. So the WPL Toyota Hilux, I highly recommend it. Thank you.